Commander Vex 9 couldn't stop laughing. The sound echoed through the observation deck of the Stellar Dominion flagship, a noise that resembled rusty metal grinding against broken glass. Around him, his fellow Krillian officers joined in the mirth, their chittering voices creating a symphony of mockery that would have made any human's skin crawl. "Look at this pathetic excuse for a predator," Vex 9 wheezed, pointing one of his 6 clawed appendages at the holographic display. The image showed a honey badger, roughly the size of a small dog, digging furiously in African soil. The humans actually consider this furry potato one of their planet's most dangerous creatures. Sub-Commander Track 7, whose species resembled a cross between a praying mantis and a lobster, clicked his mandibles in amusement. "Sir, according to our intelligence reports, the humans have named it the most fearless animal on Earth. Can you believe such nonsense? It weighs maybe 12 of their kilograms." The laughter intensified. Captain Yorth Prime, a towering figure from the silicon-based Quartzoid Empire, rumbled with what passed for humor among his kind. "On my homeworld, our newborn larvae could consume that creature as an appetizer. The humans must be joking with us." But Vex 9 wasn't finished with his entertainment. He gestured dramatically toward the display, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, but wait, there's more." According to their documentation, this tiny beast has been observed fighting lions, leopards, and even their so-called king cobras. Apparently, it shrugs off venomous snake bites like we might ignore a light breeze. "Impossible," barked Lieutenant Grex 4, a reptilian creature whose species had conquered 17 star systems through sheer brutality. "Nothing that small could survive the toxins from a serpent that size. The humans are clearly exaggerating to make themselves appear more formidable." The Krillian commander wiped a tear of laughter from his compound eyes. "Exactly my point, Grex 4. These humans and their ridiculous stories. Next, they'll probably tell us that their house cats are apex predators capable of driving entire ecosystems to extinction." Unknown to the alien commanders, their conversation was being monitored by human intelligence operatives stationed on a nearby asteroid. Dr. Marcus Webb, head of the Terran Defense Initiative's Xenobiology Department, sat in stunned silence as he listened to the aliens mock Earth's wildlife through intercepted communications. "They have no idea what they're talking about," Webb muttered to his colleague, Dr. Elena Vasquez. "Should we warn them?" Vasquez, a woman who had spent her career studying predator-prey relationships, shook her head grimly. "Marcus, remember what happened to the Valorian Empire when they underestimated Earth's biodiversity? They landed their survey teams in Australia." Webb winced. The Valorian incident had become legendary among human military circles. An entire alien reconnaissance force, equipped with what they considered superior technology and evolutionary advantages, had been systematically eliminated by a combination of venomous spiders, aggressive crocodiles, and inexplicably hostile kangaroos. The survivors had fled Earth's atmosphere within 72 hours, spreading tales of horror throughout their home system. Meanwhile, aboard the Krillian flagship, the mockery continued. Vex 9 had moved on to other Earth creatures, each revelation producing fresh waves of laughter from his crew. "Listen to this," he announced, consulting his datapad. "They have a creature called a Canadian goose that they apparently fear more than their own military. According to human social media posts, these birds routinely terrorize entire populations of humans in urban areas." "A bird?" Track 7's voice cracked with disbelief. "They're afraid of flying creatures." "Sir, my species eats flying insects for breakfast. How could an entire civilization be intimidated by something with hollow bones?" Captain Yorth Prime's rocky features contorted into what might have been a grin. "Perhaps we've overestimated these humans, Commander. If they're genuinely frightened by small mammals and common waterfowl, our invasion should be completed within a standard galactic week." The laughter died down slightly as the reality of their upcoming conquest settled over the assembled officers. For months, the Galactic Coalition had been planning the subjugation of Earth. viewing it as a resource-rich world inhabited by a primitive species that posed no significant threat to established interstellar civilizations. Vex 9 straightened his posture, adopting a more serious tone despite the lingering amusement in his voice. Gentlemen, while these humans continue to tell tall tales about their supposedly dangerous wildlife, we must remember our primary objective. Earth's mineral resources, particularly their rare metal deposits, are essential for our continued expansion across the galaxy. Of course, sir. Grex 4 nodded eagerly. But surely you're not suggesting that these creatures pose any actual threat to our invasion force? I mean, look at the evidence. He gestured toward the display, which now showed footage of a honey badger casually dismantling a beehive, while being stung repeatedly by thousands of angry bees. Clearly special effects or some form of human propaganda, Track 7 declared confidently. No biological entity could withstand that level of chemical assault and continue functioning normally. Vex 9 paused the footage and zoomed in on the honey badger's face. The creature appeared completely unbothered by the swarm of insects attacking it, its expression somehow managing to convey both intense focus and profound irritation at being interrupted during its meal. You're absolutely right, Track 7. Human cinema technology has obviously advanced beyond our initial assessments. They're attempting to intimidate potential invaders by fabricating footage of impossibly resilient fauna. What the aliens didn't understand, and what would soon become their greatest nightmare, was that honey badgers belonged to the mustelid family, a group of carnivorous mammals that included weasels, otters, and wolverines. These creatures had evolved in environments that demanded extreme adaptability, intelligence, and most importantly, an almost supernatural capacity for violence when threatened. Dr. Webb, still monitoring the alien communications, began typing rapidly on his keyboard. Elena, I'm sending an urgent message to General Thompson at Strategic Command. The Krillians are planning to begin their invasion within the week. What should we do? Vasquez asked, her voice tight with concern. Our military forces aren't prepared for a full-scale alien invasion. We barely have functional spacecraft, let alone weapons capable of engaging their technology. Webb paused in his typing, a slow smile spreading across his face. Actually, Elena, I think we might have exactly what we need. Remember the honey badger conservation project that was approved last year? You mean the program where we relocated endangered honey badger populations to preserve genetic diversity? Vasquez looked confused. Marcus, what does wildlife conservation have to do with defending Earth from alien invasion? Everything, Webb replied, his fingers flying across the keyboard. We've been so focused on developing advanced weapons and defensive systems that we forgot about our greatest advantage. The Krillians are expecting to fight humans. They're not expecting to fight Earth. Back on the alien flagship, Commander Vex 9 was finalizing invasion protocols with his senior staff. The holographic display now showed tactical maps of Earth's major population centers, marked with red indicators showing planned landing sites for Krillian forces. Phase 1 will target their primary military installations, the commander explained, pointing to locations across North America and Europe. Our intelligence suggests that humans store their most advanced weapons in underground facilities near these urban centers. Captain Yorth Prime rumbled his approval. Excellent strategy, Commander. Once we neutralize their military capabilities, the civilian population should surrender without significant resistance. Sir, interrupted Communications Officer Blix 2, a nervous creature whose species resembled an oversized praying mantis. I'm receiving some unusual readings from Earth's surface. There appears to be significant biological activity in areas we had designated as uninhabited wilderness. Vex 9 waved a dismissive claw. Probably just their larger fauna moving through seasonal migration patterns. Nothing that should concern a properly equipped invasion force. Track 7 leaned forward, his compound eyes focusing on the tactical display. Commander, perhaps we should conduct more detailed reconnaissance of these uninhabited areas. If the humans have concealed military installations in their wilderness regions, Unnecessary paranoia, Sub-Commander. Vex 9 interrupted. Our orbital surveillance has identified all significant human settlements and industrial facilities. These wilderness areas contain nothing but primitive plant life and the small, harmless animals we've been studying. The irony of this statement would become apparent within 48 hours, when the first wave of Krillian landing craft began their descent toward Earth's surface. The aliens had made a fundamental error in their assessment of terrestrial biology. They had assumed that dangerous creatures would be large, obvious, and easily detectable by their scanning equipment. They had never encountered an ecosystem where the most lethal predators were often the smallest, most adaptable, and least predictable members of the food chain. Dr. Webb's emergency message had reached General Thompson within minutes of transmission. The response from Strategic Command was immediate and decisive. Activate Operation Honey Badger. Dr. Webb! General Thompson's voice crackled through the secure communication channel. I need you to explain exactly how wildlife relocation is going to help us defend against an alien invasion. Webb took a deep breath. General, the Krillians have made the same mistake that countless species have made throughout Earth's evolutionary history. They've underestimated the power of biological warfare. Are you suggesting we somehow weaponize honey badgers against alien invaders? Not weaponize, General. Simply introduce them to each other. Honey badgers are naturally territorial, extraordinarily intelligent, and possess an almost legendary resistance to toxins, injuries, and death itself. They've been known to fight off packs of lions, survive venomous snake bites that would kill creatures 10 times their size, and escape from enclosures that zoo designers thought were escape-proof. General Thompson's silence stretched for several seconds before he responded. Dr. Webb, you're asking me to believe that small mammals are going to somehow defeat an advanced alien civilization. General, I'm asking you to trust 4 billion years of evolutionary refinement. The Krillians are expecting to fight human technology. They've studied our weapons, our tactics, and our military capabilities. What they haven't studied is our biology, our ecosystem relationships, or the incredible adaptability of Earth's predatory species. As if summoned by their conversation, a honey badger appeared on Webb's security monitor, casually dismantling the reinforced fence surrounding the research facility's perimeter. The creature seemed to approach the barrier not as an obstacle, but as a personal challenge that demanded immediate and violent resolution. You see that, General? That fence was designed to contain specimens during transport. It's made of reinforced titanium alloy and was supposed to be completely escape-proof. The honey badger had already created a gap large enough to squeeze through, apparently by using its claws to systematically weaken specific stress points in the metal framework. It paused at the opening, looked directly at the security camera with what could only be described as smug satisfaction, and then disappeared into the surrounding wilderness. Good Lord, General Thompson whispered. How many of these creatures do we have? Webb consulted his records. The conservation program relocated approximately 2,000 breeding pairs across 6 continents. We also have detailed behavioral studies on their territorial patterns, dietary preferences, and most importantly, their response to perceived threats. And you believe these animals will naturally engage alien invaders? General, honey badgers don't distinguish between natural and artificial threats. If something enters their territory and behaves aggressively, they respond with overwhelming force. The Krillians are planning to land in what they consider uninhabited wilderness areas. What they don't realize is that they're about to establish military bases in the middle of the most fiercely defended territories on Earth. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert from the monitoring station. Dr. Vasquez burst into the room, her face pale with excitement and terror. Marcus, the aliens are beginning their descent. First-wave landing craft are entering Earth's atmosphere in 12 different locations. Webb turned back to the communication channel. General, it's too late to evacuate the honey badger populations, and honestly, I'm not sure we'd want to even if we could. The Krillians are about to receive the most comprehensive introduction to Earth's biodiversity that any alien species has ever experienced. Dr. Webb. General Thompson's voice carried a mixture of resignation and desperate hope. I pray you're right about this. If you're wrong, we may have just allowed an alien invasion to proceed without any resistance whatsoever. General, if I'm wrong, it won't matter anyway. But if I'm right. Webb paused, watching another honey badger appear on his security monitors, this one apparently investigating the strange energy signatures being generated by the descending alien spacecraft. If I'm right, the Krillians are about to learn why Earth has never been successfully invaded by any species, terrestrial or otherwise. The first Krillian landing craft touched down in a remote valley in the Canadian Rockies at precisely 1400 hours local time. Commander Vex 9 observed the landing through real-time video feeds from his orbital position, nodding with satisfaction as his advance teams began establishing a defensive perimeter around their drop zone. Excellent execution, Ground Team Alpha, he transmitted to the surface. Begin phase. 2 reconnaissance immediately. I want detailed scans of all biological activity within a 50-kilometer radius. Team leader Crix 8's voice crackled back through the communication system. Roger, command. Initial scans show minimal biological activity. Some small mammals detected at approximately 2 kilometers north-northwest, but nothing that registers as a potential threat. What Ground Team Alpha's sophisticated scanning equipment had detected, but failed to properly categorize, was a family of honey badgers who had claimed the valley as their territory 3 months earlier. The creatures had been living peacefully in the area, raising their young and systematically eliminating any other predator species that attempted to establish competing claims to local food sources. The arrival of 12 heavily armed alien soldiers in powered combat suits represented the first significant challenge to their territorial dominance since they had driven off a pack of wolves the previous winter. Honey badgers do not negotiate. They do not retreat. They do not accept compromise solutions to territorial disputes. They attack. Team leader Crix 8 had barely finished his transmission when the first honey badger emerged from the tree line. The creature moved with the confident swagger of someone who owned the entire valley and had the paperwork to prove it. Behind it, 3 more shapes materialized from the undergrowth, moving with the kind of coordinated precision that made seasoned military commanders nervous. Command, we have visual contact with the local fauna, Crix 8 reported, his voice carrying a note of amusement. 4 small mammals approaching our position. They appear to be the same species we observed in the human propaganda footage. From orbit, Commander Vex 9 chuckled. Ah, the famous honey badgers. Perfect opportunity to test our hypothesis about human exaggeration. Crix 8, I want full documentation of this encounter. Let's see how these supposedly fearsome creatures react to superior alien technology. Private Zolt 3, the team's weapons specialist, raised his plasma rifle and targeted the lead honey badger. Sir, should I eliminate the approaching animals? They might carry diseases or parasites harmful to Krillian biology. Negative Zolt 3, Crix 8 commanded. We need live specimens for scientific analysis. Use your stunning weapon to incapacitate them for transport. What happened next would be replayed in galactic military academies for generations as a textbook example of catastrophic intelligence failure. The lead honey badger, a mature female named Delilah by the human researchers who had relocated her, stopped approximately 10 meters from the alien landing party. She tilted her head, studying the strange creatures with their gleaming armor and incomprehensible technology. Her expression suggested she was trying to decide whether these intruders were edible, dangerous, or simply annoying. After 3 seconds of consideration, she apparently concluded they were all 3. Delilah's attack began with a sound that no Krillian had ever heard before. The war cry of an angry honey badger, a noise that somehow managed to combine the fury of a chainsaw with the righteous indignation of a creature who had been personally insulted by the universe itself. What in the 7 moons of Krill was that? Zolt 3 stammered, raising his weapon as the honey badger charged directly toward him. It's just a small mammal, Crix 8 shouted. Fire your stunner. How difficult can this be? The stunning beam, designed to incapacitate creatures up to 5 times the honey badger's size, struck Delilah directly in the chest. She stumbled slightly, shook her head as if annoyed by a mildly inconvenient interruption, and continued her charge with renewed determination. "Sir, the stunning weapon appears to be malfunctioning," Zolt 3 reported, his voice climbing several octaves. "The creature is still approaching." "Switch to plasma charges," Crix 8 commanded. "Low power setting. We still need specimens." The plasma bolt, set to minimum lethality, caught Delilah in the shoulder and spun her around. For a moment, the aliens thought they had successfully neutralized the threat. Then Delilah righted herself, looked down at her singed fur with the expression of someone whose favorite shirt had just been ruined by a careless waiter, and resumed her attack with interest that bordered on professional curiosity. "Impossible!" Crix 8 screamed into his communicator. "Command, the creature has survived direct plasma discharge. Repeat, the animal is still functional after weapons contact." From orbit, Commander Vex 9's laughter had died completely. "Crix 8, you're telling me that a 12-kilogram mammal just shrugged off military-grade energy weapons?" "Sir, I'm telling you that the creature appears to be offended by our weapons. It's moving faster now." What the Krillians didn't understand was that honey badgers had evolved in an environment where being stung, bitten, clawed, and poisoned was considered a normal Tuesday afternoon. Their thick skin, efficient metabolism, and redundant organ systems made them extraordinarily difficult to kill with conventional means. More importantly, their psychological response to pain was fundamentally different from most species. Instead of retreating from harmful stimuli, they became increasingly aggressive. Delilah reached Private Zolt 3 approximately 4 seconds after the plasma discharge. What followed could only be described as a masterclass in creative violence applied with scientific precision. Honey badgers possess several biological advantages that make them uniquely suited for combat operations. Their loose skin allows them to twist and maneuver even when grappled by larger opponents. Their claws, designed for excavating hardened soil and tearing apart termite mounds, can penetrate most forms of personal armor. Their jaws, capable of crushing bones and turtle shells, can generate bite forces that would impress creatures 10 times their size. But perhaps their greatest weapon is their complete and utter refusal to acknowledge the possibility of defeat. Zolt 3's combat armor, rated to withstand small arms fire and explosive fragments, proved inadequate against an opponent who approached warfare as a form of interpretive dance performed with claws and teeth. Within 30 seconds, Delilah had systematically dismantled the alien's protective equipment and was working on the more challenging task of dismantling the alien himself. "Get it off me!" Zolt 3's terrified screams echoed across the valley. "It's inside my armor. How is it inside my armor?" Meanwhile, the other 3 honey badgers had decided that this looked like an entertaining group activity and began engaging the remaining members of Ground Team Alpha. What had started as a routine scientific encounter had devolved into the kind of chaotic violence typically reserved for intergalactic war crimes tribunals. Sergeant Blix 4, a veteran of 17 successful planetary conquests, found himself pinned beneath a honey badger that had somehow managed to disable his powered exoskeleton and was now systematically exploring his anatomy with the dedication of a medical student and the bedside manner of a serial killer. "Command, requesting immediate extraction," Crix 8 transmitted while attempting to dislodge a honey badger that had attached itself to his helmet and appeared to be trying to unscrew his head. "These creatures are not normal mammals. They're some kind of biological weapon." Dr. Webb, monitoring the alien communications from his observation post, turned to Dr. Vasquez with a grim smile. "Elena, I think we're about to witness the first successful defense of Earth by indigenous wildlife. Marcus, those poor aliens have no idea what they've gotten themselves into," Vasquez replied, watching the tactical display as similar scenarios began playing out at landing sites across the globe. "Should we warn them?" "Warn them about what?" "That Earth's ecosystem has spent billions of years perfecting the art of creative violence. That our harmless wildlife includes creatures that treat pain as a minor inconvenience and death as a temporary setback? The answer came from Commander Vex 9 himself, whose voice crackled through the intercepted communications with a mixture of panic and disbelief. All ground teams, report status immediately. We're receiving impossible combat reports from multiple landing sites. Ground Team Beta, stationed in the Australian outback, was the first to respond. Command, we have a situation. Local fauna has engaged our perimeter guards. Request immediate reinforcement. What kind of fauna? Vex 9 demanded. Sir, they appear to be small, hopping mammals with powerful hind legs and aggressive territorial behavior. Our troops are reporting that the creatures are using coordinated attack patterns and seem to possess some form of natural boxing technique. Ground Team Gamma, positioned in the African savanna, chimed in with their own crisis report. Command, we're under assault by local bird species. They're exhibiting organized behavior and appear to be dive-bombing our equipment with tactical precision. Birds? Vex 9's voice cracked with incredulity. You're being defeated by birds? Sir, these aren't ordinary birds. They're enormous, flightless creatures with powerful legs and what can only be described as a talent for psychological warfare. One of them has been staring at Private Kex 2 for 15 minutes without blinking, and he's having some kind of nervous breakdown. Ground Team Delta, stationed in North American woodland, provided the most disturbing report of all. Command, we've encountered creatures that appear to be some kind of hybrid between bears and raccoons. They've somehow learned to operate our equipment and have been systematically stealing our supplies. We found one of them wearing Private Nex 5's helmet and attempting to use his communication device. Back in the Canadian Rockies, Ground Team Alpha's situation had deteriorated beyond mere tactical disaster into the realm of existential nightmare. Delilah had been joined by her mate, Bruno, a honey badger whose approach to conflict resolution made her look like a diplomat by comparison. Bruno had discovered that Krillian combat armor contained several interesting technological components that made satisfying crunching sounds when systematically destroyed. He had also learned that Krillian soldiers made high-pitched whistling noises when properly motivated, which he found deeply entertaining. Team Leader Crix 8 to command, came the desperate transmission. Requesting orbital bombardment of our own position. Repeat, requesting orbital bombardment. These creatures cannot be stopped by conventional means. Commander Vex 9 stared at his communication console in stunned silence. In over 2 decades of military service, he had never received a request for orbital bombardment from a ground team that was supposedly engaging 12-kilogram mammals. Crix 8, clarify your tactical situation. Are you telling me that you need orbital support to deal with small animals? Sir, these are not animals. They're some kind of unstoppable biological weapon system. They've disabled our equipment, breached our armor, and appear to be studying our technology for weaknesses. One of them is currently dismantling Corporal Vex 12's weapon while he's still holding it. Captain Yorth Prime, monitoring the communications from his position on the command bridge, rumbled with what sounded like nervous confusion. Commander, I'm receiving similar reports from all 12 landing sites. Our ground forces are being systematically defeated by creatures that shouldn't pose any threat to military personnel. Sub-Commander Track 7 clicked his mandibles anxiously. Sir, perhaps we underestimated human defensive capabilities. These could be genetically modified organisms designed specifically for anti-invasion warfare. Vex 9 considered this possibility while listening to the increasingly frantic reports from his ground teams. The logical part of his mind insisted that small mammals couldn't possibly defeat trained soldiers equipped with advanced technology. The evidence, however, suggested that logic had been temporarily suspended in favor of pure, concentrated chaos. All ground teams, implement emergency extraction protocols, he finally ordered. Return to orbital positions for tactical reassessment. The extraction attempts proved to be even more problematic than the initial engagement. Honey badgers, it turned out, were not particularly interested in allowing their new playmates to leave before the game was finished. Ground Team Alpha's extraction shuttle found itself under siege by creatures that had apparently learned to climb vertical surfaces and possessed an unsettling interest in aircraft maintenance. Bruno had somehow managed to access the shuttle's cargo bay and was systematically investigating the contents with the enthusiasm of a child on Christmas morning and the destructive capability of a small tornado. "Extraction shuttle to command," the pilot reported with barely controlled panic. "The animals have boarded my aircraft and appear to be redecorating the interior. One of them has figured out how to operate the environmental controls and has set the temperature to maximum. Another one is attempting to pilot the vessel using what appears to be interpretive dance." Dr. Webb, still monitoring the alien communications, began laughing so hard that tears streamed down his face. "Elena, do you realize what we're witnessing? The first interplanetary war in human history is being won by wildlife that most people consider cute and harmless. Marcus, those honey badgers aren't cute and harmless. They're small, furry embodiments of pure chaos with claws and attitude problems." "Exactly. And the aliens expected to fight human military technology. Instead, they're learning about 4 billion years of evolutionary refinement applied to the art of not giving up, ever, under any circumstances." The situation deteriorated further when the honey badgers began demonstrating their legendary problem-solving abilities. Delilah had discovered that Krillian technology responded to certain combinations of claw marks and creative violence. Within minutes, she had learned to operate alien communication devices, environmental suits, and, most disturbingly, weapons systems. "Command, this is Ground Team Alpha," came Crick 8's increasingly desperate voice. "The creatures have learned to use our equipment. One of them is currently attempting to establish communication with your orbital position using standard Krillian protocols." Before Vex 9 could respond, his communication console crackled to life with a new transmission. The signal was definitely originating from Ground Team Alpha's position, but the voice was unlike anything in the Krillian language database. It was the sound of a honey badger who had figured out how to use a military communication system and had something important to say about territorial boundaries and acceptable behavior standards for uninvited guests. The noise that emerged from the speakers could best be described as a combination of aggressive chittering, creative profanity in languages that didn't exist, and the kind of sound that nightmares make when they're trying to be intimidating. "Did that animal just attempt to communicate with us?" Captain Yorth Prime asked in stunned amazement. "I believe it did," Vex 9 replied slowly. "And I believe it was issuing some form of territorial challenge." Track 7's compound eyes widened with realization. "Sir, if these creatures are intelligent enough to operate our technology and establish communication, then they're not just random wildlife. They're an organized defense force." The truth was both simpler and more terrifying than the aliens could comprehend. Honey badgers weren't an organized defense force. They were just honey badgers doing what honey badgers do when faced with interesting new challenges. The fact that they had learned to operate alien technology in under an hour was simply a testament to their natural curiosity and their complete inability to accept that any problem was unsolvable. Commander Vex 9 made the decision that would end the shortest invasion in galactic history. "All units implement full retreat protocols, abandon ground positions, and return to fleet formation immediately." "Sir, are we really retreating from small mammals?" Track 7 asked incredulously. "Sub-Commander, we are conducting a tactical withdrawal in the face of an unexpectedly sophisticated biological defense system," Vex 9 replied with as much dignity as he could manage. "And if anyone asks, these creatures were clearly the result of advanced human genetic engineering programs designed specifically for anti-invasion warfare. The retreat from Earth became known throughout the galaxy as the Great Embarrassment, though official military records classified it as contact with advanced biological defense systems. Within 72 hours, every Krillian soldier had been extracted from Earth's surface, most of them requiring extensive psychological counseling and several requiring physical therapy to repair damage caused by creatures that weighed less than their standard equipment packs. Dr. Webb received a priority communication from General Thompson 3 hours after the last alien vessel cleared Earth's atmosphere. Dr. Webb, I need you to explain to me how honey badgers just won an interplanetary war. General, they didn't win a war. They just did what honey badgers do when someone enters their territory without permission and fails to show proper respect for local customs. And what exactly do honey badgers do in those circumstances? Webb smiled, watching his security monitors as Bruno and Delilah returned to their den, dragging various pieces of alien technology that they had apparently decided were worth keeping as trophies. They make it very clear that Earth is not accepting applications for new management. The aftermath of the invasion attempt had far-reaching consequences throughout the galaxy. The Krillian Empire quietly removed Earth from their list of potential conquest targets and began developing new classification systems for planetary defense capabilities. The category, Biological Warfare Extreme, was created specifically to describe worlds where the native fauna posed existential threats to visiting military forces. Other alien civilizations took note of the Krillian retreat and began conducting more thorough research into Earth's ecosystem before making any diplomatic contact. The discovery that humans shared their planet with creatures capable of defeating advanced military technology through sheer determination and creative violence elevated Earth's status from primitive backwater to approach with extreme caution. But perhaps the most significant change was in human understanding of their own planet's defensive capabilities. Dr. Webb's research into biological warfare applications was expanded into a comprehensive program for cataloging and understanding Earth's natural defense systems. Elena, Webb said during one of their follow-up meetings, I think we need to reevaluate our assumptions about planetary defense. We've been so focused on developing advanced weapons that we forgot we're living on a world that's been perfecting biological warfare for 4 billion years. Marcus, are you suggesting we develop some kind of biological defense network using Earth's wildlife? Webb gestured toward the window, where a family of honey badgers could be seen systematically dismantling a piece of abandoned Krillian equipment. I'm suggesting we already have one. We just need to learn to work with it instead of against it. The honey badgers, for their part, remained completely unaware that they had become galactic legends. They returned to their normal activities of raising families, defending territory, and solving complex problems through the application of focused violence and superior attitude. Bruno kept the alien communication device as a chew toy, occasionally activating it by accident and broadcasting random honey badger vocalizations into space. These transmissions became known throughout the galaxy as Earth Defense Warnings and were generally considered to be some form of advanced psychological warfare designed to intimidate potential invaders. Delilah used pieces of Krillian armor to reinforce her den, creating what human researchers would later describe as the most heavily fortified honey badger habitat in recorded history. She also developed a taste for the metallic components in alien technology and began actively seeking out locations where similar materials might be found. Commander Vex 9, meanwhile, was quietly reassigned to a desk job in the Outer Territories, where his primary responsibility involved filing reports about planetary assessment accuracy and the importance of comprehensive intelligence gathering. His final report on the Earth incident concluded with a recommendation that all future interstellar military operations include a mandatory course in xenobiology, with special emphasis on predator identification and behavioral analysis. The report also included a personal note. Any species that can survive on the same planet as honey badgers and still develop space technology should be considered extremely dangerous and approached with maximum caution. Recommend immediate reclassification of humans from primitive to too scary to bother. And so Earth's first and last alien invasion ended not with advanced technology or military strategy, but with a handful of small mammals who had simply refused to accept that losing was an option. The galaxy took note, and Earth's reputation as a world defended by creatures too stubborn to die became the stuff of interstellar legend. Future alien civilizations would approach humanity with respect, caution, and a healthy appreciation for the power of evolutionary refinement applied to the art of never giving up. The honey badgers continued their lives, blissfully unaware that they had become the galaxy's most feared biological weapons and Earth's most effective diplomatic representatives. After all, they had more important things to worry about, like protecting their territory and teaching their young the essential life skills of creative problem-solving and aggressive conflict resolution. The universe, meanwhile, learned a valuable lesson about underestimating small planets with big attitudes and the wildlife that calls them home.